Hello students, this is a class for BA Part 2 English Literature and we will be doing a poem by William Blake and the title of the poem is London. I am Dr. Anil Dadhij, Associate Professor in English, Department of English, Samrat Prithviraj Chauhan, Government College, Ajmer. Let us talk about the poet. William Blake is considered to be a pre-romantic poet. You must have known by now about the ages in English literature. The literature is divided in different ages, and in your second year, you will be reading pre-romantic age and the romantic era of English literature. So, what is pre-romantic? Pre-romantic is actually the period which precedes the romantic age, and you all know romantic age started in 1798 with the publication of lyrical ballads of William Wordsworth. So we can say just before Wordsworth and after you can say Alexander Pope and Dr. Johnson, the age which is sandwiched between the Augustan age or old age of reason of Alexander Pope and Dryden and the age of Wordsworth and Coleridge, etc., the Romantic poets, is considered to be the pre-Romantic age. So William Blake is considered as the precursor to Romantic poetry. His Songs of Innocence and Songs of Experience are two very popular volumes of poetry. This particular poem, which we will be studying today, London, is an extract from Songs of Experience. This poem, London, is actually a satire on the English Charter. Charter, you know, the written document or written constitution which gives the people rights. So it's a satire on the English Charter and the malpractices prevalent in London at that time, that is to say in the last decade of 18th century. The poet wants to convey the decadence. Decadence means patan, ras jo ho raha tha in the society and failure of the rule of law in London in the last decade of 18th century. The filthy, the dirty life of metropolitan city, we are talking about London of course, is presented in this poem in a very anguished manner in the poem. So let us read the poem, let us read the text of the poem. The poem, you can see, is divided into 1, 2, 3, 4 stanzas, and in every stanza the poet's voice becomes more harsh, more coarse towards the decadence in the society. So let us read the first stanza. I wander through each chartered street, near where the charter Thames does flow, and mark in every face I meet marks of weakness, marks of woe. So let us do the hard words first. I wander through each chartered streets. Chartered street means the streets which are given the freedom by the charter, by the constitution of England. So I wander through, and this is written in a satirical manner. So streets are chartered means they must be safe because the English charter gives this right to the people to be free, to be safeguarded by this charter. So I wander through each chartered street near where the chartered Thames does flow. Thames is actually the river in London which flows in the middle of the city. So and Thames is also chartered, means it must also be safeguarded by the charter or by the law and order officers administration of England. So near where the charter Thames does flow, where the river Thames flow, and the poet says, when I wander through these streets, and what does he do? I mark in every face I meet. He marks means he notices, he observes. I mark in every face I meet on these chartered streets. He meets people, he observes the faces of people, and he notices in those faces what? The marks of weakness and marks of woe. Woe means sorrow. So, although it's a rule of law, although it is chartered, the charter gives you the privileges, the rights of safety, but still the people express weakness, the people express suffering, sorrows on their faces. The poet says, I see only sorrow and weakness on the people, in spite of being England a rule of law. In every cry of every man, in every infant's cry of fear, in every voice, in every band, the mind forced miracles I hear. Now, we will read the stanza from the last line of this stanza. I hear mind forced miracles. Miracles means chains, Badian. And what kind of miracles these are? These are mind forced miracles. Mind forced means which are created, which are made by the mind. Means the chains are actually made of your own mind. I would like to give you a story of an elephant. The elephants are very powerful, you all know. But from the very beginning of their life, a very small chain is tied to their leg, and they become accustomed to this chain, and they obey this dependence of this chain. So just as the elephant, although the elephant has the power to break away from the chain, from the tree with which it is tied, the elephant can break the tree, but still when its leg is tied to the tree, it does not run, it does not go away. Okay, so this is actually mind forced miracle. It is actually the mind forced chain which you feel in your mind. So he says, I hear these mind forced miracles, these chains imposed by your own mind in every cry of every man. Every man, whenever he weeps, when he cries, in every infant's cry of fear, even the poet takes the issue even to the level of infants. Infants means newborn babies. So even in the cries of infants, the poet hears a sense of fear. Means even they are afraid. If there is an atmosphere of fear, even for the children, newborn children, then what of man? In every voice, he hears these mind forced miracles. In every ban. Ban means you all know ban. जब किसी चीज़ को लीगल तौर पर रोका जाता है, दैट इज़ बैन. तो इन एवरी बैन, if there is a charter, if there is a statement of freedom, if there is a document of freedom, how can there be bans? But in these bans, the poet says that I hear miracles which are mind forced only. If the people were bold, they could break these chains, he wants to suggest. And now he gives a list of the people for whom he is more worried. and which are better example, graver, more serious example of these mind forced miracles, or you can say the victims of law of England. How the chimney sweepers cry every blackening church apart. Chimney sweepers, you all know, chimney sweepers' job was actually done by small children in England because they could fit in the chimneys. And when they sweep the chimneys, it usually happened that many children died early in their age because of the soot, because of the bad air in the chimneys. So these chimney sweepers must be safeguarded. Their health must be especially taken care of. But even they have to work in church. Church is the place of pity. Church is the place of mercy. Okay, even there, the church appalls. Means even the church is filled with horror, or it is a situation of dismay that even the church is blackened by the cries of the chimney sweepers. Although the poet feels that mercy should come from churches. And second in the list is the hapless soldier. Hapless means unfortunate. When is a soldier unfortunate, students? When he dies in the war, or when he is fatally wounded in a war. So he says the hapless soldiers sigh. Sigh means ah. When he sighs because of a fatal wound, he is bleeding and his blood runs down the palace walls. Actually, the soldiers are victims of the ambitions of the kings who live in palaces. And the palaces are smeared, the palace walls are smeared with the blood that runs on the battlefields. Okay, and now we reach to the final stanza of the poem. But most through the midnight streets I hear, and the poet reaches to the streets in the midnight, and he says the most pathetic condition, the most sad condition is heard by him when he goes in the streets where prostitution is done. He says how the youthful harlots means prostitutes, curse. When they curse, why do they curse? Because nobody likes to be a prostitute. She is forced to become a prostitute because the Charter of England could not provide them ample freedom, ample support, ample security, ample opportunity to become better citizen, to feed themselves. That is why they are forced to become harlots or prostitutes. So how the youthful harlots curse, and because they curse, they blast the newborn infant tears. Newborn babies, when they weep, their tears are actually the result of the curses of the harlots. And blights means curses. This harlot curses with plagues. Plagues means the curses that they speak, or the evils. The blights and the harlot blights with plagues the marriage heresy. Marriage has become a heresy. Heresy is actually a van in which a dead body is carried to the graveyard for burial. So marriage is taken to graveyard, means marriages end. Marriages come to an end. when a prostitute is forced to sell her body and she is not able to take care of her children, and her children are considered to be illegitimate by this charter, which is supposed to give them freedom and security and opportunity. So in this manner we see the poet has presented in a very anguished manner the anger, and you can say that the revolting voice against the Charter of England, which should provide safety and security to the citizen, but instead people are filled with fear and horror. Students, these are some hard words. Charter is constitution, Thames is the river that flows in London, vow means sorrow, mindford means created or made by mind, and plague is to afflict or torture with a disease or other calamity, and heresy is actually a van that carries the dead body to graveyard. And in this manner, the poem is a very powerful one, and it comes under the Songs of Experience written by William Blake, the precursor to Romantic poets, a very famous poet. Thank you very much.